Team management is the ability of an individual or organization to administer, coordinate a group of individuals to perform a task. Team management involves teamwork, communication, objective setting, as well as performance appraisal. If you think about this one, right? Communication is the glue that holds everything together. Objectives and setting goals and targets, that gives something for us to aim for. And performance appraisal, that becomes a feedback mechanism which allows everyone within our team to understand, are we heading towards the right direction? How good is the job that we're currently doing? It's important to ensure that as a business, we communicate and we all strive to accomplish a specific goal. The idea here is if we're pulling towards the same direction, we're more likely to achieve it, as opposed to everybody just doing their own thing. Leaders and managers, while the distinction between leader and manager may be a bit confusing, there are some subtle differences between the two. A manager focuses more on organization and keeping the team on task, whereas a team leader relates better to the individuals within the organization and tends to be a little bit more creative in their approach to problem solving and to dealing with the people. The way that I look at it, very simply put, a leader inspires, whereas a manager manages their team. So in order to evaluate a business and implement the changes in the future, an important aspect becomes giving feedback and coaching. So we've done the evaluation, right? So we looked at the evaluation process. This is how our work is going. This is how our business is doing overall. That's great. We've collected the data, we've processed it, we've got information. But information sitting on someone's desk or in someone's computer is kind of wasted. What you need to do is give feedback from this, meaning share what we learned with the people we're working with. That's part one, right? Now that everyone knows what's happening, the next part becomes, what do we do with it? How do we become better? And this is where coaching comes in. Coaching is about assisting employees reach their goals for the future. Coaching is about advocating optimal performance. So here is where we were, here's where we need to be. Let's put in training programs and coaching programs and mentoring programs to help people get to where they need to be so that they can be the best that they possibly can be for the future. And once again, feedback comes into this process. Feedback is about helping employees understand what prevents them from reaching their current goals. Quite often, when you want to change anything in the business, people will say, hey, if it's not broken, why fix it? Or, hey, like we like it the way it is right now. Or that thing that you're trying to do, it's too difficult. And once again, conflict comes in. So feedback becomes integral. It becomes really, really important to reinforce appropriate behavior. And the great thing about feedback is it can be done with consultation in mind. So feedback is a type of communication, but you do it from a consultation perspective. You talk, they talk, they talk, you talk. Both of you listen to each other, or maybe a group of people as a collective listen to each other and work out the best way forward. A really good technique to use when giving feedback is the sandwich technique. The sandwich technique is what you did well, what you can do even better, and build on what you did well. So that's why it's a sandwich. So here you start off with a positive, then you mention something that they can improve, and then you talk about building on things that are already your strengths. The idea behind the sandwich technique is you are trying to improve someone's performance and capability, but you're also recognizing what they already do well and helping them to do that even better. So this way, as an organization, you basically fill any gaps that you potentially have by improving one of the most important resources you have, which is the people in your organization. So from the perspective of feedback, feedback can be very, very uncomfortable. And it's something that, even though we should be pretty good at by a certain point in our lives, a lot of people aren't. And I think the main reason for that is, well, there's two parts to it, right? You got the feedback giver and the feedback receiver. The feedback giver, if they're not trained in how to give feedback, can do a pretty poor job of giving a feedback. Even if it's just a compliment, it can sometimes come out wrong. The feedback receiver, let's be honest, like how many people are good at receiving feedback? Me personally, I'm not very good at it. Someone gives me even positive feedback, like, hey, well done on something. I'll be like, oh yeah, totally. Definitely, yeah. Or I'll end up saying something quite silly. So, feedback is a really important aspect. And as we discussed earlier, feedback, two-way communication, is integral. It is communication, right? So it's part of the glue which holds things together, with a big added benefit being with the feedback, we can help someone to become better at something. I would say, along with the sandwich method of delivering feedback, always consider feed forward. Feed forward. So traditionally, people look at feedback and go, I'm going to talk about or comment on current performance, right? What you did well, what you can improve on, and how to improve on things you did well. Feed forward is quite interesting. In feed forward, we say, okay, let's not only concentrate on what you did well, what you can improve on, and how do you improve on things you already did well, but let's give you specific things to work on. So, here you did this really good. Cool. Here you can improve on it, and this is how you improve on it. This you did really well, which we already talked about. This is how you improve on it. Feed forward is good because a lot of times people know what they're good and bad at. They don't need someone to come and tell them that, hey, you're really good at this or you're not so good at this. Instead, what people really, really get value from is how to get better at something. And that's what feed forward is all about. From a business perspective, from an organization perspective, working in a team environment, feed forward is something that we should all practice. Not only tell people what to improve, but how to improve it. And if that how to is a practical thing, that makes a lot of difference. And of course, follow up. As a person giving the feedback and as a person receiving the feedback, follow up. It's not the responsibility of person A or person B. It's actually both of their responsibilities. So if you've taken the time, the effort to give somebody feedback, follow up a week later and say, hey, how are you going with that? Has there been any progress? Is it working? Is it not working? If it's not working, maybe we have an opportunity to try and tweak it, change it slightly so that it can be more effective. And if we can do that, we can basically do things better. And if we can do things better, then we end up with better outcomes. And that's what it's all about.